Welcome to another episode of the Holistic Sister Circle. Today we have Kandi with us, and Kandi actually healed herself from an autoimmune disease. And with these symptoms, she it also found herself to be autistic, mompreneur using energy therapy, herbalism, and astrology. With 15 years of experience, she's helped spiritual self healers their health sovereignty without blindly trusting Western medicine, using dragon infused astro herbalism. Y'all, this is so interesting because one of the things that I love about Candy as well as I was telling her this, I've never heard anyone talk about astrology on the show. So I'm super excited for us to dive in and to really just talk about like what healing looks like off of social media. I think, we see these people and places and things and we just automatically think, "Oh my gosh, they have this glorious life and we want this." And all of these things, and we don't actually think about what people are going through or what they had to go through to even get to where they are. So, Katie, I'm super excited to have you here with us. And before we dive in, can you just share a little bit about who Candy is beyond the titles?
Oh, beyond the titles, I'm a mama of sweet 3 precious little gremlins that I love to death. I homeschool them and, spend a lot of time with them throughout the day while trying to be a busy mompreneur. So, yeah, that's a lot going on, but I've also got, like, a whole lot of devout spiritual practices that help me with my day-to-day.
I love that. Ooh, we'll have to talk more about homeschooling too, because we do that over here as well. So I definitely understand how busy it can be. And I'm super grateful that you and your family, you've literally pulled them out of the system and you're creating your own system, your own foundations, and your own values. That's amazing. Yay. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So let's actually start off with how you decided to not just heal yourself. I want to go a little bit deeper than that, but what led you to connect with astrology in that way as well?
Ooh, so I have found that astrology is really kind of the way that the planets have stamped us at birth. And like all of those different planets have different influences that give us suggestions on disease potentials. And so it kind of, even if you're not displaying symptoms at the time, if you catch something so far ahead of the game that you're not even having to be on the field yet before you start trying to keep from having to be a player, then astrology can really help you with that, or keep your eye out for signs, symptoms, and so you can catch it as fast as it starts. So it's really, really a good blueprint for. It's not always going to happen, whatever is in your chart as a medical sign of possibility, but it helps you get that kind of eagle eye view of what could be.
That's really interesting. Now, oh my gosh, I have so many questions. The first question that I want to start off with is, can we just get like a live example? So if I were just kind of walk me through, like if we were dissecting something, I don't know, we can start with what you were going through. We can do what I went through and just kind of map it out of how we would leverage astrology with it. That would be awesome.
Okay. So, for example, if I were looking at your chart specifically, some of the first planets that I would be looking for would be your Saturn, your South Node, and your Mars, because those are kind of big places that can cause lots of impact in good ways, but also can really impact your body in like an energy leaking style. Um, and it depends on which house it's in as to how it might show up and what other relationships there are with all of the planets, because that's why it's kind of of an art that you have to form, because you have to look at how everything touches each other, because we are so individual and so unique that each person may display issues in different ways. Um, and that's kind of why I wanted to go into the combination of astrology with energy therapy and also plants and herbalism, because it's kind of like having that energetic boost from the inside out. Then the plants, whatever you eat, your herbs, your spices, can all really give you just enough of that boost to get you over whatever medical hill you might be facing. Um, so it's kind of a balancing out. But then I threw in the dragons because that really helps to kind of burn away anything that doesn't serve you in an energetic fashion. But dragons are known to be very powerful healing allies, so they do so much more than just like your inner landscape. They kind of all of your reality. They touch it whenever you bring them in. So it's really a cool balance. But I found that, just dragons might be too rough on people and because astrology is all about potentials, then you want to kind of balance out the ifs and definites and be overall gentle with the healing process, so that you're not like, oh, change, you don't feel like you're getting socked by it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I kind of want to like share like a practical real example of this because I like I said I'm very intrigued. So say for example, for me, I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome 10 years ago. And I didn't know anything about holistic health until like 3 years ago. And when I first found out, I was very hesitant of just the world in general. I wasn't really sure what to expect. But then after working with a practitioner, I essentially built my own like wellness dream team, right? And I like to call it that because it wasn't just one person that helped me. It literally was a team of five different people in different types of industries within the health system, right? So I had someone who really focused on my movement. I had someone who focused on nutrition. I had someone who focused on like my overall health with my practitioner. Then I had a trauma therapist. Like I had all these different people. I joined a program called Surviving Vegan Academy. So it was like five different types of people and things, people and places and industries that kind of helped me navigate through that. And then within 90 days, I was symptom free. Now, when I think about that and I think about astrology, this is not something that I've studied or mastered or anything. So I'm looking to you for this. Um, what would you need from me, from what I've shared with you so far, to have for me to have a better understanding of how I would leverage astrology with my symptoms?
So the astrology portion is to kind of give me a hint on your typical constitutional state.
Okay.
So for IBS, for example, that's kind of more leaning towards a damp damp, loose tissue state. So you might need to have more astringent herbs, for example, to kind of help boost your health, and things like chamomile in your tea to help balance out your digestive system, and depending on what your sun sign is and a couple of other things, depends on where we might go as far as which herbs exactly that are more friendly, because a lot of different health indicators are given in where your planets are and what particular illness that a planet might be influencing, if that makes sense. So
Okay. Okay.
the we look not just holistically at you, but the plant that we're recommending as well, and see how the energetics of the whole of for everybody come together. So it's very individualized, and depending on your signs. So that's how that kind of flows together. But for example, the astringent herbs. Uh, that's just kind of the little thing that gives you that little, pucker to your cheek, kind of like if you ate a banana that's really unripe, right? So those kinds
Uh-huh.
of things kind of help tighten your tissues, and then that can help ease the digestive system symptoms. Um,
I
but
see.
and then, anything that gives a boost to whatever major thing you've got going on, like if you could just, for example, add cinnamon to your morning breakfast and help yourself so much more, you know, it's just sometimes just little tweaks that make really big differences.
Okay. So say if like Okay, so I don't know my you said my sun sign, right?
Mhm.
How would I find that out? Is that
Oh, there's so many really good birth chart, displays online.
okay?
When you're in my program, I, of course, I do the birth chart. And there's several really good ones online, though. I wanna say astrocafe.com. I believe that's what it is. Astrocharts does a pretty good job. With some of the free stuff, you kinda it depends on what setting you have as to how accurate it is, whether or not you know your birth time, your birth city and state. Um, those things really help narrow it down and get it as accurate as possible. But you can go online and look those things up, or you can give it to any astrologer really, and they'll be able to take care of that with you.
Okay, no, this is really interesting. And then, and you may not know this question, so it's okay if you don't, but what would be the difference between leveraging astrology to help you in your symptoms versus human design? Because it just
Well,
sounds very
actually,
similar.
they are similar in a whole
Okay.
lot of ways. They have some overlap. Um, Human design, I feel like, goes a little bit deeper into how the energy flows, um, but it gives a lot of the same information just in a more visual chart,
Okay.
where you don't have, all of this stuff everywhere. It looks like it's kind of like what I'm indicating here, the imprint of the planets on the body, but without the extra confusion of planet edition because people get kind of wired up about that.
Right. Okay. No, I love this. And so, what we've talked about so far with astrology, for those of you all who don't know much about human design, I actually have episodes from like season 1 and 2 that you can watch and binge watch to talk about human design. And a lot of it really, and one of the things that I've noticed as well, and you can let me know too if you've noticed this with astrology though, is I remember when I'll give an example. So when I first started the podcast, I had all of these interviews with all these different types of people, which I've truly enjoyed. I was very grateful. But I also found that at the end of the day, I was so drained from all of the conversations. And in order for me to find some energy or just some type of lift, I would just go to like a bookstore and I would wander the bookstore. I would, pick something up. I may sit down, I may read. And that was just kind of my way of like resetting myself before I moved and shifted into the next phase of the day. And when I had someone, um, love her by the way, but I had someone that I had interviewed last year. Her name's Lauren within human design. And one of the things that we had noticed within my chart was how emotionally drawn I can be in certain social settings. And I
Mhm.
thought it was so interesting because it also affects the way that not just you are. And my point here is with all the things that we're talking about, it doesn't just affect your symptoms. I'm realizing it's also just about who you are as a person and how you show up in the world. So if you
Absolutely.
feel like you're somebody who, you're in a position where you're like, okay, why am I feeling like this? Or why do I feel so tired? Or why do I feel, super energetic in certain areas of my life when I'm doing certain things and other areas it just completely drains me? It may not be that there's something wrong with you from a symptom perspective where you have like a chronic illness or anything like that. It may just be that you don't know how to channel um, your true design of like how you were meant to show up in the world. And
Mhm.
I would love to hear kind of like your take on this too, because it's allowed me to process my emotions a bit better because now I understand like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't spend too much time in this place of or this area of my life, or maybe I need to set a boundary here. Or maybe I shouldn't talk to that person because that's a bit draining for me. Maybe I need to, set up some different avenues or conversations with other people that can help lift or elevate the energy that I want to go into next. So yeah, I would love to know if that it has been something that has triggered you as well on this journey, especially leveraging astrology, or if I'm just like far off.
No, you're absolutely right. That's actually one of the things astrology is one of the most famous for. Whenever you get your birth chart reading, that's something that people really go in depth with. These planets in this place, and here's the significance of that, right? And it tells you where you have energy leaks, where you really show up as your best and brightest, and what things might be harder on you versus uh, how you show up in the world. It's got so much to do with our innermost being. And actually, one of the most common things that I have seen as far as illness potentials is people doing things without taking care of themselves in an energetic fashion. And it's really easy to do. I mean, if you know what you're trying to accomplish, you know what things drain you, and you know what really can work to balance that out for yourself. Um, But one of the most easy, even a busy mom, I got 5 minutes, maybe. Okay, let's go. um, if you just sit there whenever you're eating your food and you're drinking your water, I mean, if you hold your water and speak kind words into it and like, I am successful, I can do this, I've got all of these things, and then you drink your water, all of that is going straight into your energy body and help fueling you and help keeping you going. Um, just random little things like that, speaking your truth out loud, really helps to craft your reality. And whenever you don't know, you can kind of tune into your body, sinking down in there and learning what your yes and your no feels like. And always asking yourself that question before you really dive in and say yes to somebody else and their needs and what they want to do. Say, does that sit well with me? Can I handle that right now? And honoring yourself in that and checking to see if that's a yes or a no. Um, like for me, for example, I'll say, is it okay for like do I have the energy for that? And yes always feels like a certain spiraling up, like yeah. And no feels kind of like I ate a rock and it goes boom. So just kind of feel that out for yourself, especially you were talking about human design generators, the gut check. That's what that looks like. Um, And then another thing that can really help out is really keeping check on how your body is feeling. With my autoimmune stuff, that was number one, and I feel like there's a surprising amount of our emotions that show up in our body too, right? I mean, is that how you feel?
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. A lot of
Uh,
the things that I was going through as well were, I mean, it was trapped emotion for
mhm.
sure.
I think that people kind of disregard how much of our emotions are actually energy in motion. And whenever we try to step back from that, if we're busy, we're trying to do something, we're on a podcast and we have something pop up for ourselves, um, our first reaction is to kind of, I don't have time for that right now. You knock that away, but it doesn't actually go away. And it guarantees that it's going to come up once, probably at least twice later, because you have taken that energy and just put it in a little glass vial in the middle of your being, and it's sitting there.
Yeah.
And it's wreaking havoc on your tissues. That's why there are so many things in there in books when you read it that says, he swallowed that rock, and it's all that emotion just kind of hitting and interfering with our tissues and getting stored there. And I think that that's how a lot of illness trickles down. Um, they say that autism and complex PTSD have so many symptoms that people go, is it the trauma or the tism? Who knows? Because they hold so many symptoms in common, and a lot of autism is related to inflammation of the brain, and they say that that's how it starts to form at the beginning stages of the autism, which is why it sometimes doesn't always start off the second you're born. It's something that really kind of develops later. You get that inflammation in the brain, and then things kind of get rewired and change completely. So dealing with the energy behind the emotions is really important,
No,
and
yeah.
honoring your energy too.
Absolutely. And for, for those of you all who've never heard of this before or you're just tuning in for the first time, I would love to learn from you too. Like, have you experienced leveraging astrology or your birth chart or um, just knowing how to not just listen to your body, but also listening to your emotions and dissecting them. I think that's so important, especially, as women, because we are the emotional ones. And we're typically changing the temperature in the house depending on our emotions and how we feel. And I think it's important that okay, I see a pattern here. I continue to do the same thing and I'm angry because I'm not being heard or I don't feel like I'm being seen or respected. But I keep showing up in the same way where I'm forcing people not to honor me because I'm not honoring myself in this area. So I love what you're saying, and I do believe that it's super helpful. Now, one of the things I wanted to just dive into, Candy, is we talk a little bit about um, what does it really look like to heal, right? To heal beyond Instagram, to heal beyond social media. Can you just walk us through just like your personal story of your autoimmune disease and then also, battling autism, like what that process has looks like for you and your family?
Absolutely. So, I with my autoimmune stuff, I was visiting the doctor multiple times. My body was screaming, and the doctors weren't listening. Um, the amount of medical gaslighting and lack of informed consent and lack of proper care is just crazy. How the system is really not built for us, and we're constantly dismissed or misdiagnosed. I think it takes an average of between 6 to 8 years for anything to be diagnosed beyond surface level. You have anxiety. Have you tried losing weight? Those are the worst things to ever hear from a doctor. And it's like, well, yeah, I have tried things. Can you help me with your expertise, please? But I feel like we have to over research so much to be able to just be taken seriously. Um, and to be able to get our pain honestly evaluated and sat with. And so finally I was like, you know what, I'm done chasing the next specialist. I am done uh, popping the yes pill because the doctor said so. I'm going to figure out for me. I'm going to be my own white knight. I'm going to swoop in here and I'm going to see about fixing this because nobody else is doing that for me. I'm going to do it for me. um, so I really took that and ran with it, and it started off with energy healing and finding out, that happy little balance that I have discovered with the combination of all of the things. Um, but I got attuned to Reiki like 15 years ago, so that was the beginning of it, and it was with a Native American man who was really strong again, advocate for the emotional portion of everything and calling in the ancestors and helping your lineage to heal. So, because when you heal, you heal more than just you. It's the people who came before, and it's the littles who come after. I mean, you're benefiting everybody when you focus on you and your health. So it's really a cool thing to see and to watch people go.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. That was beautiful. Now, can you talk a little bit about what it actually means to make this practical? So if I were someone that was really just starting out of my journey, I love this question because the goal is to meet you where you are, right? So if you're like, okay, what is Reiki? That's okay. You can always do your research and Google it. If you're like, okay, tell me more about energy healing and why is that important? Again, you can do your research on that. But I do want to make sure that when you are thinking about, okay, how can I bring this back to my life in my home and just really change some things and stir some things up so I can be the change that I want to see. Let's make it practical. Let's actually figure out what those next steps look like. Can you just share with us what would that look like for someone to leverage?
So I would say the first step is to decide that you are going to, and go for it. Don't just say, I will. I will. We all have access to to what's called the collective, which is like all the wisdom that ever was. We have access to that within us. People who are religious believe, the God within, so without, as above, so below. All of those things collide within our physical body. We are like the physical representation of how everything comes together. And so just the power of your mind alone, the power of deciding alone is so powerful, because it is in the Bible it says God spoke everything into existence, right? But the Hebrew word used there is actually vibrate. So our speech, the vibrations of our thoughts, those two things, when they collide and you envision it as if you already have it, then it's only a few steps away. I mean, it's right there. You've created that reality, and all you have to do is step into it. So speaking your truth out loud, speaking who you want to be, those verbal affirmations can really, really help. Um, and integrating that soul practice into your everyday, a non-negotiable. I've got to take care of me. I can't pour from an empty cup. So really taking those steps to dive into that, and to choose and go for it. And it starts with just little things like watch what you're eating and being mindful of how you move your body. And so many people tend to be, living up here, right up here, instead of down into their body and really allowing themselves to feel life. And so much will be helped. You will notice emotions faster. You will notice issues and signs and symptoms at the head of everything if you are settling into your body first.
Mm, mic
It's like your
drop.
GPS.
Mic drop for Kandi. Yes, yes, that is so, so true. Well, Kandi, this has been amazing. I'm so grateful that you have been able to just connect with us, share a little bit more about what that process looks like, not just for how it can help us, but how it's helped you, how it's helped your family, and of course, the clients and the transformations that you've helped as well along the way. Could you just share with us now what it actually looks like to connect with you further? What does that process look like, and how can we continue to follow you in your journey?
So you can find me on Facebook and Threads, and you can always visit my website, which is galacticmamadragon.com, and I will pop up. You can find my ebook there. You can message me, email me. I'll be around. Um, and then